And he's often drawn on his own experience, his own ailments, in order to understand the challenges facing others. But it's only now, after discovering a cancerous tumour in his eye, that he's finally chosen to explore the wonders of sight and perception, and the catastrophes that ensue when things go wrong. In his new book, The Mind's Eye, Sachs goes back to his own childhood and finally owns up to a lifelong inability to recognise or remember faces. It's been about 3 years since I've seen Sachs. Having read about his severe face blindness, I was wondering if there was any way that he'd recognise me.
When I came in right now, I was laying bets as to whether you would recognise me or not. How did you know it was me as I came in?
Well, I didn't. I experimentally said nice to see you again to a plausible person, which happened to be you.
So, Oliver, I'm going to give you a little test here.
I was afraid of that.
All right, here's the first. Do you recognise that person?
I know I should, because otherwise you wouldn't be showing it to me. She is young, she is black, she is famous. So I would infer, I would think there's a good chance of it being Obama's wife.
Okay, that's the first bet. Now here's the next one. Do you know who that is?
It's from a slightly unusual angle, but I would think that that's the husband.
That's a good way of putting it. The husband of whom?
Of Obama's wife.
That's the husband of Obama's wife. Well,
Yes.
You've done well there. That's true. That's right. That's one you've got right. Now here's...
Sorry, not too right?
No, you didn't get the first one right. Now what about this one?
Well, she's grey-haired, she has an imperious look. I would guess the Queen.
So you've done not badly. It was Elvis Presley who you hadn't recognised.
I see. And did you show me both Obama and Mrs. Obama?
No, I showed you Oprah Winfrey.
Oh.
You got Obama and the Queen.
Okay.
Is it a strain not being able to recognise people?
Well, sometimes it's a relief. No, people can be greatly offended, and I think one needs to out oneself in this respect and sort of defuse situations. And since I wrote on the subject, I've had lots and lots of letters from people who said they had something similar. It had been lifelong, and other people in the family had it. And I got the sense that here was something not uncommon out there in the general population.
Face recognition is crucially important for humans. Most of us are able to identify thousands of faces or easily pick out familiar faces in a crowd. But severe face blindness is estimated to affect at least 6 million people in the US alone.
There's a particular part of the brain towards the back of the right hemisphere which seems to be especially concerned with the recognition of faces. There's argument as to how much this particular area is a product of evolution and present at birth and dedicated to the recognition of faces, and how much it develops through training and culture. Because, of course, we're a social animal, and facial recognition is very essential for us.
At 2.5 months, babies respond to smiling faces by smiling back. This engages the mother to smile more, to talk, to hold the child. In other words, to initiate the process of socialization. We interact in the world with the people we know and love through the recognition of their faces. So people with face blindness have to learn to be resourceful. They find strategies such as recognizing people by an unusual feature, spectacles, facial hair, a certain sort of clothing. Then there's voice, posture or gait, and of course, context and expectation. And Oliver's problem is not just confined to recognizing other people's faces.
I often start apologizing to a large, clumsy, bearded man and then realize that it is a mirror. Once, when I was at a table outside a cafe, and I turned to the window next to me, and I started checking myself, checking my reflection, but then I realized the reflection was not doing what I was doing, but that on the other side there was a puzzled man with a beard who wondered why I was preening myself in front of him. So I can take others for myself as well as myself for others.
In contrast to Sue, Sachs was acutely aware of his stereo vision from an early age. As a boy, he loved using stereo viewers, and as soon as he discovered photography, he was taking stereo photographs and experimenting with making his own viewers.
Even as a school kid, I would sometimes be caught closing one eye and then the other and asked what I was doing, and I said I was seeing how the world flattened, and I was told to spend my time more usefully. But I loved playing with stereoscopy and making hyperstereoscopes. I mean, I think I partly fell in love with America because of stereo views of the Grand Canyon and Yosemite.
So this is something, this is a Viewmaster, which must be very familiar to you from your childhood.
I adored them.
Here you can have a look.
Okay.
I think we've tried to get some great American views for you.
Okay, well, there's some very beautiful mountains and snow-covered with a lake in front of them. I would wonder whether it was a volcanic lake. This is the American West or the Northwest. This is what I fell in love with. The old days, if I looked through this, I would have seen the lake moving away and the mountains palpably further away. I would have been intensely conscious of the space between the foreground and the foreground, whereas now it's all flat.
"6 years ago, Oliver developed a large blind spot in his right eye. He went to see an ophthalmologist, and his worst nightmare was confirmed. He had a malignant tumor. Despite radiation and laser treatment, Sachs eventually lost all sight in his right eye, and with it, the stereo vision that he cherished since childhood.
Given how much you relish that stereo world, how are you coping without it?
There is an overwhelming sense of loss. And I occasionally have dreams in which it seems to me that I have stereo. In particular, in the dreams, I am looking into a stereoscope. And when I wake up and see the fan in my bedroom about to hit the bedside lamp, I mean, I know they are 6 foot apart, but for me they are transposed and conflated onto the same plane, and I miss stereo. Not so much in my day-to-day functioning as just in the richness and beauty of the world.
So you have your stereo vision in your dreams, though?
I think I do. You know, insofar as one has any descriptions of dreams are reliable. I think I've had it in dreams, and I think I've had it or a hallucination of it when I've smoked some pot.
You'd better smoke a bit more pot, then.
Yeah, perhaps I should.
Oliver Sachs is now 77. He still sees patients and publishes a new book every couple of years. He loves plants, cuttlefish, and the periodic table. He swims almost every day and has done so for decades.
You leave it to fate, to God, to roll the dice.
Luther, next Tuesday at 9 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
Take the time to treat yourself.
Tricks I learned as a chef can be done easily at home, especially when it comes to presentation. You may look upon it as being a restaurant dish, and it is, but I don't see any reason why you can't do it at home.
Simon Hopkinson is The Good Cook. New series starts Friday 8th of July on BBC One and BBC One HD.
I want you to create a new brand of biscuit.
Biscuits, the new popcorn.
Any time is treat time.
We're not dogs.
You need an emergency biscuit.
There's something fundamentally wrong here. You're fired.
The Apprentice, Wednesday at 9 on BBC.